All right, everybody, welcome back to the Beans No Ball podcast, and welcome to episode 13. This after week 11 just wrapped up. A lot of good football being played. Let's get right into it here.
Yeah, so we're on episode 13. So, like we've been saying, how I've been saying that this season has been going by really, really fast. This season has been going by pretty quickly. So, just glad we're still sticking with this on episode 13. So, obviously, let's kick it right off with the week. What was it? Was it week 11?
11?
Yes, it was with the week 11 recap. And moving on to the week 12 preview. There's some Thanksgiving games coming up too, so that should be good for later in the episode. So let's kick it off with the Thursday nighter, which is a pretty average game to watch. The Titans at the Packers. Titans came Titans came away with this victory after me knowing Packers were gonna go back to losing. I'd just like to point one thing out first. I would like to take my L. Christian Watson did have a pretty okay game, getting 2 touchdowns that game. So he proved me wrong. So I'll gladly take my L and move on. He does have a bright future. He's probably going to be the main guy for the Packers. Moving on now. Alan Lazard, I'm pretty sure he's probably going back to 2. So I'll gladly take my L and move on from there. Derrick Henry. He had a pretty decent run game, 28 carries for 87 yards and a touchdown. So that helped the Titans a bit. Ryan Tannehill, he had a pretty good game too. Only 5 incomplete passes, managed over 333 yards and got 2 touchdowns out of it. So it was pretty well game by Ryan Tannehill, but obviously he needs Derrick Henry to succeed first before he can move on. But really doesn't matter. Burks, the other another receiver for the Titans, managed to get 111 yards. Absolutely cooking. Jair Alexander back twice already. Terry Alexander cooked 2 weeks in a row. But Packers, I knew they were going to lose this game. I knew they're going to go back to losing because Packers, they're the Cowboys' kryptonite, and it's the sad truth. Packers just find it. No matter, they can be like 0-10, and then they can beat us. That's just how the Packers are. Sadly, they own us, and I have to admit to that. But I just knew from the get-go that once they beat us, they're just going to go back to being bad again. And this game pretty much proved it.
Basically taking it all right there. Like you said, Christian Watson, really he's stringing a bunch of great games recently. Just obviously it wasn't enough. He did get a touchdown, but apart from that, when you can't score in the second or fourth quarter, that's really going to be a big hit to your offense. And when the Titans are consistently scoring, they got a touchdown every quarter, but then 2 field goals in the third. So that was that was the difference, just being able to score in every quarter. And just the main thing, probably what really was the difference, was Ryan Tannehill uncharacteristically having a really good game. Kind of looking back as maybe his 2019 self when he was, he played better than we're used to recently. Still Derrick Henry is what carries this offense, but it was a great game for Tannehill regardless, and see how it goes moving forward, as they're now 7-3, and kind of it's looking like they've got the AFC South all wrapped up as of now. So that being enough for our Thursday nighter, let's move on into the Sunday slate. And this one was a game that we both got wrong. Obviously, the Bears at the Falcons. Just another one of those games for the Bears. It's looking, just unfortunate. Not the best game for Justin Fields. Just 153 yards and a touchdown. He had like 67% completion, which that's not bad, but you kind of do expect better from him. The way like he's been really showing out the past couple games. You really thought against a weak Falcons team he was gonna show out and just help improve the record of the Bears, and who knows if they could have possibly built towards something this year. But obviously they are rebuilding, so we'll probably expect them to keep this low record, probably build through the draft eventually. And as for the Falcons, you look at them, and in that really weak AFC South, you never know. Sure, the Bucks are picking it up little by little, but they're 5-6 now. It's probably going to be like the 2020 NFC East, where even a losing record could get you into the playoffs. So we'll see how that develops.
Yeah, I mean, we see, excuse me, we see how weak that AFC South division, not AFC, excuse me, the NFC South division is. We see how weak they are, and obviously it could be like another NFC East in 2020 where you could possibly make playoffs with losing record. And from the looks of it, it could possibly happen, you know. But obviously with the Bucks, they've seemed to kind of get the group again, so they could maybe sneak their way in with like a 10-7 record. I would say maybe a little more, but it just all depends on how Tom Brady moves and that whole Bucks offense moves, especially that defense has been really, really struggling lately. But they won their last 2 games, so I mean that's an eye opener. They were on bye. They are coming off bye this week, so we should see what happens. But yeah, I mean Falcons are just one of those trap teams. You know, they're really inconsistent. You never really know what's going to happen. I mean, we saw how they played against who did they play Thursday night last week? I forgot. The Panthers.
They just lost to them. So
yeah, they lost to the Panthers. So, and it was a division game too. Division games honestly matter the most, and even the teams within the conference also matter. But it's still a lot to see with the Falcons. I mean, they're 4-2 at home. They're just not good away, and that pretty much proves it. The Bears, on the other hand, they're bad away. They're really bad away and home. This was a pretty disappointing game. That coaching from the Bears is just too much to deal with. Justin Fields, he had a pretty mediocre game passing wise, but rushing, I mean, he got 85 yards from 18 carries and a touchdown. So his rushing again pretty much carrying him. And I've said this before, Justin Fields is not a good passer. He really isn't. When he has to pass, he just does bad. The Cowboys game literally proved it to me. Every time he passed, he would get some dog shit throws, and then when he gets possession from flags like the Cowboys commit, he ends up throwing some good balls. So literally the momentum drives the reason he fucking made those plays. And then obviously the run game killed us, which obviously opened up the pass game. But obviously that pass game could have been good if his throwing was that bad. But the Bears, I mean, their season's pretty much done. I really doubt they make a playoff push at this point. They should just tank. The Falcons, they're very inconsistent, very inconsistent. But I mean, if they can get the job done these past weeks, then we'll see in that somewhat competitive NFC South division. But they're all very bad. But moving right along, we have another, which could have possibly been our first snow game. The Browns and the Bills. Sadly, they got moved to Ford Field in Detroit. So nice in Detroit to Lender Stadium. But the Bills came on top, 31-23. Allen found Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. That connection has been very, very well these past weeks, and that final touchdown is what gave him the win. I mean, it was pretty much good. I mean, the running game for the Bills was pretty good. Thank God, David Singletary. I'm pretty sure he's happy he got moved. He's 5'10", there's 6 feet of snow, so 18 carries for 86 yards and a touchdown. He should be glad for that. Excuse me. Stephon Diggs had another pretty good game too with Josh Allen. I mean, Josh Allen, like we knew after that loss, he was going to bounce back. That's how he was. That's how he always is, not including those 2 losses in a row. But we saw after the Bengals lose a really bad game. Not bad game, but when they lose a game like that, like a heartbreak game, they just bounce back next week. And also the character of Josh Allen, even post game when they lost to the Vikings, he took all accountability for that, and something similar to that, which we'll talk about in the next 2 games. But he took accountability for that. He took the blame for that. And honestly, it wasn't really all Josh Allen's fault, if we're being realistic here. I mean, that defense gave up 17 unanswered points, which led the Vikings to win. Realistically, that's just, I don't want to say bad coaching, but there is some with that. And that's really much just the players getting too comfortable. That's how the Cowboys were against the Packers in the 4th. Defense got too comfortable, and then we choked. But regardless, this is another bounce back win by the Bills in another competitive division, the AFC East. So another competitive division, and all the teams could possibly make the playoffs. But from the looks of it, Bills are pretty much one of the powerhouses in the AFC, which is pretty known already. The Browns, even with the addition of Amari Cooper, my boy Amari Cooper, had a great game with the Browns. Sadly, they just couldn't finish.
Yeah, I mean, you saying that about the Browns? I mean, sure, He had that 113 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jacoby Brissett, an incredible 324 yards, 3 touchdowns. But in the end, it really was just garbage time points, garbage time yards, and like you said, it's just dead stats when you can't get the win. So not
Yeah.
not much to say about the Browns. They're basically just waiting along for Deshaun Watson to come, and he's back in 2 weeks, I believe. So I mean, we'll see what kind of an effect he can have on this team. Obviously, it'll be some sort of positive, but we'll see. I mean, as for the Bills, we knew that they were going to bounce back eventually. This finally was the time. They really showed out. Just like I had said for my cash pick in Stephon Diggs, um, Josh Allen really did find that connection back, which is something they really needed, and they're gonna have to really keep going forward in this season. They're up 7-3. They're back even with the Dolphins now, so that's obviously gonna be the big the key matchup that's coming up eventually. So we'll see who comes out on top in this AFC East, which is getting surprisingly competitive this year. And yeah, not much else. It's just a great win for the Bills here. And to move on, just a really surprising game here with the Eagles at the Colts. Just
Very sad game as well.
I guess we could just say it's looking more and more like our predictions were true. The Eagles really are frauding their way through the end of after the 9-0 start. The 8-0 start. They're kind of starting to look more and more like frauds. I mean, a tough loss against the Commanders last week, and now this game they were trailing the whole game against the pretty poor Indianapolis Colts. Sure, a 14-point fourth quarter when the Colts only got 3. That was really the only reason they got this win. Obviously, that was the difference, but it was an ugly game for the Eagles overall. I mean, Matt Ryan did outduel Jalen Hurts. That much tells you in itself. I mean, Jalen Hurts did get a better rushing stats, but you just see what it looks like. I mean, the type of opponent they were playing in the Colts. It just like we'd kind of expected. They're being exposed more and more, and I mean, I wouldn't have expected to be this in this kind of matchup. Probably would have expected to see maybe in the Cowboys game coming up, or in another divisional game, a game against an actual good opponent. But if they're looking like this against the Colts, that's a pretty big alarm, and we'll see how much more they drop if it really starts looking like a 2020 Steelers type collapse.
I mean, yeah, it was just a very, very disappointing win by the Philadelphia Eagles. It was just very disappointing. We really expected this to be a clinic, and the Eagles win by like 30, but it just didn't seem like that. I mean, obviously, like you said, he pretty much wrapped it up already. So I'll just add a couple of things here and there. This will most likely be the 2020 Steelers season if they really can't get back on track from that loss to the Commanders. I mean, like you said, Matt Ryan did outplay Jalen Hurts. He did have a good game on the ground, but really didn't make up for it. I mean, AJ Brown with another decently quiet game. Devonta Smith had a pretty okay game. Don't get me wrong, but against these Colts, I mean, yeah, the Colts beat the Chiefs early in the season, but still doesn't excuse the fact that the Colts are this doesn't excuse the fact that the Colts are a pretty bad team. And with the high power and a powerhouse team like the Eagles, we really expected to beat them by a lot. And the Eagles, and then Nick Sirianni, bashing Colts fans. Like, you beat a 4-6 team by 1 point, getting outscored the whole game, trailing the whole game, and managed to get a touchdown in the fourth quarter. That's just unnecessary. I didn't think it was appropriate, especially with how the game was going. But they managed to get the win here. For Philly fans, feels great, 9-1. But I mean, realistically, I would say it's more of a disappointing win, and I would honestly have still have a lot of things to fix with that team if they want to show out in the playoffs. And then moving on to another highly disappointing game, highly boring game, Jets at the Patriots, another divisional game. This was very, very low score game, only 13 points accumulated. So I'm not really going to get into this much, but Mac Jones had an okay game. Threw for 246 yards, 23 completions out of 27. Damian Harris had a good game on the run. So did Stevenson too. Both those running backs combined for 100 and what was it, like 120 something yards, 121 yards, I think so. I believe so. Pretty good by the Pats run game. We saw that punt return touchdown. That pretty much sealed the game for the Patriots. And obviously this was very important because like I said before, divisional games are very much important, especially around this time and then coming into December. Divisional games are very important because you don't know how good the division teams could be when it comes to seeding, blah blah blah, and things like that. And this is a perfect example. Coming into this game, Jets were first in the AFC East. After this loss, they're now dead last in the AFC East. With a very competitive division like that, the AFC East, one game could pretty much change the momentum of everything. And this game proved it. This game also proved that Zach Wilson is not a competent and reliable quarterback for the New York Jets. We saw in the post-game interview, Mans did not take accountability for that loss. This was all a defensive game. This was a whole defensive game, but both sides of the ball, not just the Jets, both sides of the ball. This was a very hard-fought defensive game. And the fact that Zach Wilson had the audacity, to say no, to not take accountability, just proves the type of player he is. There's no chemistry. There's no bouncing back from that team at all. His game coming back from his injury, he had a pretty okay game. After that, he just couldn't do anything. Like, I don't want to say he sucks, but he just doesn't have the quarterback material to help lead a team. And we saw the Jets were 7-2 at one point, or was it 7-3? Not 7-3. Excuse me. They were 6-2.
6-2 or 6-3. I don't remember.
Yeah, they were 6-2, 6-3. There you go. Thank you. They're 6-2 at one point, and now they're in the 2 loss. They're 6-4. They're 4 away, but this still does not excuse the fact that Zach Wilson is really going to hold them down to the playoffs. If the Jets somehow manage to make it to the playoffs, manage to make it to the 7th seed on the wild card spot, they're going to be first-round exits without a doubt if Zach Wilson cannot fix what he's doing and get back on track. The Patriots, I mean, I wouldn't be too worried as a Patriots fan. I mean, this game was pretty bad offensively, but Mac Jones did take the upper hand here against Zach Wilson on the quarterback battles. But regardless, I wouldn't be too worried as a Patriots fan. But as a Jets fan, I would highly be worried if if Zach Wilson does continue to play like this.
Yeah, I mean, you covered it mostly. Just the main thing, it was just an ugly game overall. I mean, there was just 2 field goals, 1 field goal each in the second quarter, and apart from that, it was just a punt fest. It was, I mean, what was it, like 20 punts between the 2 teams, something like that? It was
maybe a little more.
It was a lot of punts just overall, and I mean, it came to the point where in the fourth quarter, the Jets had averaged like 2.77 inches per play. I mean,
not even a
you take that not even a foot, just 2 inches per play. I mean, it's I mean, that's just how poor it was for the Jets. I mean, like you're saying, it just so much with that team. Zach Wilson not taking accountability. I mean, I honestly wouldn't expect the Jets to make the playoffs regardless. Just having Zach Wilson, and I mean, we already see Robert Saleh was saying he's not sure if he'll commit to Zach Wilson moving forward in this season. I mean, him being a former number 2 overall pick in this league, that's got to be alarming for the front office and for just everyone involved for the Jets. So we'll see how that goes moving forward. I believe they got the Bears next week, so it's 2 struggling teams. So we'll see how that situation goes. But yeah, I mean, it's a win's a win for the Patriots. They're back up in there. I mean, both of these teams are 6-4, so we'll just see how the AFC East keeps going, because I mean, obviously it's a really competitive division. And well, let's move on to my game. Just another unfortunate situation for the Rams. Just the season just keeps unraveling more and more, down to 3-7. I think this it's just the worst season we've had since the first season back in LA in 2016. I mean, I'm not even, what can I say? It was just an ugly game to watch. I was excited to see that Stafford was actually throwing it deep. That nice big throw to the Tutu Atwell to what was it, like a 62-yarder? Well, a nice touchdown pass.
Well, it was a nice dive. It was a nice bomb. So
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it starts giving you hope, and I mean we're up. Was it 14-10 at half, and just right after that, the Saints just got right coming back from half, 2 touchdowns just like that, and all the Rams were able to get was 2 field goals in the fourth quarter, and I mean couldn't really move the ball overall. So it's I mean, like I said, the season's been over since probably the Bucs game. That game losing drive against the Bucs is what really killed it for me. So I guess what do we got next? The Chiefs. We got the Chiefs next. So it can only go down from here. So
I mean, it's a very good for the week too. So I mean, something could happen. You never know.
Yeah, we'll see. But I mean, the one positive I do take away from this is, I mean, it's not much, but Cam Akers did start moving the ball a little better than he has been. I mean, 61 yards for 14 carries. It's really below average, but he did break out for like 2 or 3 nice runs that got us into field goal range, and that was about it. But I mean, he's a great running back overall. It's just the O-line that this team has. I mean, it is just awful. I mean, Matthew Stafford had no time to get the ball out as he has. I mean, don't get me wrong, Stafford's got a lot to blame on this season too, but he's got no time. So what really is he to do? You mix his poor accuracy with having 0 time to get the ball out. I mean, what are you going to be able to do? So there's that, and then just not having any time. He ended up getting hurt on one of the 2 sacks, I think, or one of the big hits he took. And you get Bryce Perkins into the game, which I'm honestly kind of high on him. I mean, his passing is pretty bad. It's probably like John Wolford level bad, but as a mobile quarterback, he is great. So I mean, if we do have the ability to develop him throughout maybe like this off season and into next year, I wouldn't be too upset to have him ease himself into that QB1 role as Stafford leaves eventually. But he looked great. It's just it comes down to how bad the O-line was, and didn't really give him time to even show or try to show what he could do as a quarterback. Just because and I do remember in the preseason he really showed out. I think it was a game against the Chargers. He was looking good as a passer. So we'll see if Stafford has to stay out and if Perkins gets to play. So it's maybe he'll get a little more time to get the ball out. But I don't know. I mean, I'd like to see what he can do in this offense. I mean, hey, at this point, season's over. Just experiment with it. What else can happen?
Yeah, I mean, you had your doubts with me picking the Saints, but I mean, I kind of had the feeling that they were, and I was obviously correct from last week. Andy Dalton was going to go off this game, going for 3 touchdowns, 260 yards, and only 4 completions. So that kind of made me feel good that I was correct. But I mean, again, these are 2 bad teams. I mean, anything could happen, anything can go both ways. With bad teams playing, it's really not one-sided. Like I said, it can go both ways, but it was a very great game by Andy Dalton, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does. I wouldn't be surprised if he does mediocre or possibly worse next team, but it was a great win by the Saints. I mean, Chris Olave, that 52-yard touchdown bomb that he got to pretty much ice the game for the Saints, really depicted a part in this lead. I mean, and then also with Cam Akers on the Rams, I mean, it's just sad, you know. I mean, they gave up. You said it already. That O-line is very bad. The O-line's bad. They can't do any blocking, no run protection, no pass protection. The front office gave up on him too quickly, and he's still a very young running back. And then the Achilles, I think it's ACL or Achilles. His Achilles injury really screwed him over too. I mean, Achilles, ACL injuries, they're really hard to recover from. And most players that suffer from those, they don't even end up playing ever again. And Cam Akers was just one of those lucky players to obviously end up recovering well.
And not only recover, but he came back like 6 months after his original injury.
So
That's even crazier. An
thank you for
Achilles injury.
thank you for adding on to that as well. He came back early, 6 months from an Achilles injury. Does usually take like 8 months, maybe a
A
little
year.
more.
Usually a year.
Yeah, possibly maybe a little more than a year. And for him coming back after 6 months, that just shows his toughness. Not always not toughness, but it just shows that how fast he can heal, I guess. But it's just really saddening that the front office gave up on him. They couldn't get a trade on him, so basically that's just like, we're stuck with you. I really feel bad for Cam Akers. Don't get me wrong, especially with this disappointing, struggling Rams team. I know how much you're disappointed as well. Trading all their future for picks from last year. You guys don't even got first round picks until like what, 2026, maybe more, 2025. I don't know. I know for a fact you guys don't. I know for a fact you guys don't got first for the next couple of years. But it's a great win by the Saints. Rams. Pretty much the season's over. Now moving on to the next game. On the game that got me very very upset. The Lions came on top, beating the Giants. I should have gone for the Lions. God damn it! Why did I listen to you? Why did I listen? I should have gone with my gut. But besides all of that talk, the Lions beat another great team, the Giants. They beat them 31-8. DeAndre Swift, he had a pretty okay game. He still got a touchdown, a non-touch touchdown. Daniel Jones, I mean, he had a decent game, but it was pretty much garbage time. I mean, Robinson had a 100-yard game for the Giants, but pretty much didn't really do much. The Lions, I mean, it was a pretty great win by the Lions. Nothing really much to say, but they beat a really good Giants team. You expected Saquon to run all over them. That's pretty much the reason why I didn't pick the Lions, but still pretty upset. Still mad about this, not going with my gut. But regardless, I mean, it was a great win by the Lions. They're back to a winning streak. They're 3-win streak. As a Lions fan, I would assume they're pretty happy about this. Giants, excuse me once again. Giants, I would be a little concerned. You know, you're coming into a Thanksgiving game against my Cowboys, and we seem to possibly be in our groove once again. Defense getting back on track after beating a very great 8-1 Minnesota team. So Thanksgiving game on Thursday against my Cowboys. So I really hope, obviously I hope we win that game. But Giants, they need to get a lot of fix before that game, and if not, it could possibly be a pretty mediocre season to finish.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have too much more to add on this. Just, I guess the main thing was the Lions defense held up. I mean, they held Saquon Barkley. I don't remember his exact stats, but I remember he got me like 5 points in fantasy when I expected him to get like at least 20, 25. So that in itself tells you what happened. And just, you see, they got no scoring in the second or third quarter. So I mean, when you get shut out for multiple quarters like that, you know that's usually a sign that you're not really you're not gonna get much out of. I mean, it's not going to be a good situation when you don't score for multiple quarters. And you see the Lions score every quarter. All it was a field goal in the first, but after that, it was, you know, touchdown after touchdown. And
they got 6 points in the first quarter.
I meant the Lions for that one. But yeah, the Giants got 6, but touchdown after touchdown for the Lions after just a field goal in the first. I mean, you see DeAndre Swift had a real nice touchdown in between there, and I mean, even Jackson, you know, they got another running back really working. So you had a tandem working for on the run game, and on the other side, the real key piece of their offense in Saquon just couldn't get it going. And sure, you see Daniel Jones, he had 341 yards, still only that one touchdown. So I mean, not much. I mean, you have almost 350 yards, but not much to show for it. And they're still 7-3. You know, not too much of an alarm, but you expect them to be 7-4 after this week and see how their schedule looks moving forward. But it might be time to kind of start, you know, really reevaluating and, I mean, try to save the season, because, you know, just the way the Giants have been looking, you know, it's supposed to be, you know, one of those bounce back years for them, but they really gotta stay focused and work at making sure that they don't slide all the way down like a lot of teams are starting to look. And apart from that, let's just move on to Panthers at Ravens. This was kind of a quiet game, not too much going on. It was a tie game going into the fourth. Looked just like that pretty boring Patriots and Jets game, but on this one, I guess the Ravens did get 10 points instead of 7 for them to finish it off. Obviously, a 10-point victory, an infamous little 13-3 score. I know a lot about that. So the Ravens move into 7-3. Pretty average game for Lamar Jackson. No passing touchdowns, but did crack over 200 yards. So I guess you can call that an average game for him. And I mean, sure, he ran the ball as he does, but Kenyon Drake only 46 yards on 10 carries. They really do have a struggling rushing attack with J.K. Dobbins out since feels like forever now when he got hurt and he had to get that knee surgery. But yeah, I mean, it was just a really good, I guess just a slight little win for the Ravens. Not nothing crazy. It basically came down to Lamar's rushing touchdown, which a win's a win. I guess not much. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, nothing really much to say about this game. Realistically, it was pretty quiet, pretty boring. I was watching it up until halftime, and I just got really bored. I really did get really bored, and I just switched the game. And I think I was watching the Commanders game. But I mean, we pretty much saw how that one was. We'll talk about it next game. Yeah, I mean, it was a very quiet game. It was tied 3-3 coming into the fourth. Very quiet. Excuse me. I mean, Lamar Jackson had a pretty mediocre passing record. Passing stats. Only 209 yards for an interception as well. I mean, Kenyon Drake really couldn't get anything done either. 10 carries for 46 yards. I mean, Robinson, he had 128 yards receiving. So, I mean, that's a bright sign for the future of the Ravens, for the receivers. But, I mean, obviously, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And the Ravens depicted this right here, this game. They finished strong with 10 points in the fourth quarter. It's really saddened me too with the Panthers. Baker, I'm still sad about Baker, man. Baker has a lot of hope in him. He has a lot of passion in him. It's just something about him. He just proving to me that he's just not a good quarterback, and it saddens me because with this time in Cleveland, he was the reason they were relevant again. Led him to the playoffs, beat the Steelers, beat the once undefeated Steelers, and that was just a great sign. Put up a great battle against Kansas City, and it just came up short. And it's just sad to see, Baker. I wouldn't be surprised if he's cut by the end of the season, but I really hope he does sign with another team, hopefully. And then moving on to the next game, which is the Commanders game against the Texans. I mean, I'm really gonna wrap this up quickly. There's nothing else much to say. I mean, the Commanders, seems to me that Taylor Heinicke will be the starting quarterback from now on. Seems like he is the option. They beat him 23-10, so great win. Texans, they've got their points in garbage time. Brandon Cooks managed to get 70 yards for 3 catches. I mean, I still feel bad for Brandon Cooks. He deserves to be in a contending team. He shouldn't be stuck with these really obscure Texans. And my Cowboys do play the Texans soon, and I really hope we do beat them. And Brandon Cooks, I wouldn't be surprised if he's still pissed off. But seems to me that Taylor Heinicke is the answer that the Washington Commanders needed. Antonio Gibson had a pretty okay game, 18 carries, 72 yards. They won by 13 points, so it's a pretty smooth victory. We pretty much knew it was going to be one-sided, and it looked like it. But nothing else much to say. The Commanders are back up to, not back up, but they're finally up above 1,500, and with that very competitive NFC East division.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, not only is it looking like Taylor Heinicke is going to get the starting role, he is. With Ron Rivera did confirm that he is going to roll with him. Carson Wentz will slide back to a backup role for the remainder of the season, which, deservingly so. He's really he's really stepping up in this role, as we've kind of seen he's capable of after what we had seen from him since the time he had to step up in 2020, and just and anytime he's had these backup roles, he's really shined. So I mean, it's nice for him to really be cemented as that starter, at least for the end of the season. We'll see how that ends up. I mean, if the Commanders can sneak into a playoff spot. But yeah, as for the Texans, they're probably just gonna start cruising in, maybe settle for the number one pick. We'll see how they look. I mean, tank for Bryce Young or someone. So yeah, not much else to say. This game, it was pretty predictable. So moving on, we got an overtime game in the Raiders, the Broncos. This we expected it to be kind of a boring game, two really struggling teams. I mean, it wasn't much. It was 16-16 going into overtime, obviously. But then, surprisingly enough, we both took the Broncos to win, but the Raiders came away with it here on a game-winning touchdown in overtime. I mean, good on the Raiders. I mean, still the season isn't really looking as you would have expected it for them, but I mean, good on Devontae. A nice walk-off touchdown. It was not too much scoring. Obviously, you see both teams with 16 points, but I mean, I guess the highlight really was Derek Carr did have a good game, 307 yards and 2 touchdowns. And obviously, both of those touchdowns going to Devontae, which he had 141 yards. So he's having, I mean, his own great numbers. Obviously, it just comes down to he's on a shitty team. So I mean, he realistically he should have stayed on the Packers or forced his way to a better team. But I guess they also got a pretty decent game out of Josh Jacobs with 109 yards, no touchdowns, obviously, but I mean, he had a decent game. So I mean, the Raiders were clicking, and obviously that was enough to get them a win over the Broncos.
I mean, yeah. I mean, they picked the Broncos, and it did seem like the Broncos were gonna win, but obviously Russell Wilson obviously choking away with that offense. I mean, it's also crazy to think about. I mean, if the Broncos scored 18 points in regulation every single game, they would have been, I think, 8-1, 9-1, 8-1, or something like that. They would have been 8 or 9-1. It's just crazy to put into this perspective that by just scoring a little bit more points, that they possibly
could have gotten 3 touchdowns. I mean,
yeah, they could have
just put it at 20 points.
Yeah, simpler. If they scored at least 20, let's put it as let me simpler. If they scored at least 20 plus points a game, they would have been at the top of the AFC West. Yeah. It's just crazy to think about that, how much a little bit of a points can really make a difference. Because Broncos, that offense has really not clicked at all so far yet. That defense has been putting up work. Patrick Surtain has been doing well, but I mean, he did get cooked by Devontae Adams last night. Not last night, but last game, yesterday. But it just shows that Nathaniel Hackett, obviously, he's probably one of the main focal points of why that defense is not defense. Well, the whole team is in shambles. The acquiring Russell Wilson was also not good as well. They still have him for another 5 years, 6 years?
5 years, I believe.
Yeah, so Russell Wilson's washed. After his Seattle season, I honestly expected him to probably bounce back with the Broncos. Because, I mean, realistically, before coming into the season, Broncos were a quarterback away from having a winning team, but it doesn't look like it. Broncos are 3-7. So are the Raiders. They basically had a mid off that whole game. Raiders, I already expected them to do pretty bad. Broncos, big surprise. But yeah, Devontae Adams having his own good season of his own, like you said, but it's really not helping with the team win. Now moving on to my game. I feel pretty excited about this one. I'm not going to go too in-depth with it. I'm pretty much wrap it up as quick as I can. So we stampeded these Vikings out at their home, 40-3. Scoring 10, 13, 14, and then 3 points, obviously the fourth, because it really didn't matter much. Dak Prescott, another amazing game. I knew he was going to have another great game. Only 3 incompletions that whole game, 276 yards thrown and 2 touchdowns. Very amazing. He was pretty consistent with his throws. It was just amazing. That O-line was finally holding up. I don't think he was sacked at all that game. I'm trying to remember. No, I don't think he was sacked at all that game. Tyler Smith, he was looking very great. He was looking very good. Didn't allow any pressures. And now since also we're also getting Tyron Smith back, so I think Tyler Smith is moving to left guard, I believe, to get Tyler Smith. No, yeah, I think left guard because Tyron Smith is a left tackle. That makes more sense. There you go. Yeah, he's moving to left guard, so Tyron Smith can fulfill the spot on left tackle again. And this is really great coming into the Thanksgiving game, and then obviously we got December, which is the very important games. Tony Pollard, man, on the ground, 15 carries, 80 yards. Great game on the rush and in the air. 6 receptions, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns. First running back in a while for all this touchdown to be receiving. It was just a great game offensively. Defensively, that defense finally bounced back. You know, obviously, a lot of people were obviously doubting me and doubting the Cowboys, and everyone was saying that Vikings are going to bash that defense. Dalvin Cook is going to run through the defense. But look, Dalvin Cook, they got something in the first, and after that, they could not do anything. Kirk was getting pressured. He was sacked 7 times that total game. That defense really made a statement that game. Very good momentum coming in for the rest upcoming games. We have the Thanksgiving game coming up against the Giants. That is a very winnable game that we should win. We should all win that game, especially coming back with our throwback jerseys and the helmets. Very nice jerseys. So really be a good to get a win in those as well. And that game's pretty much going to depict if OBJ is going to come to the Cowboys or not. He is scheduled to visit the Cowboys and Giants after the Thanksgiving game. So pretty much the winner of that game is where he's most likely going to sign. But that depends on which contract you're given. Trayvon Diggs, another lockdown game against a very high-level receiver, Justin Jefferson. I don't want to hear anyone saying, ooh, Kirk Cousins couldn't throw the ball, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't fucking matter. If this was another quarterback, if this was another player, they would have been like, oh, yeah, he locked them up, blah, blah, blah. Notable receivers Trayvon Diggs has locked up Jamar Chase this season, Justin Jefferson twice, last year and this year, Scary Terry. Those are 3 big-name receivers from the top of my head I can name so far. Alan Lazard, too, as well. He locked them up. I could say that as well, too. But it was just a great game by that defense. Trayvon Diggs really proving everyone wrong. Ball hawk corner, allowing 1,000 yards to being a lockdown corner. A lockdown corner this season, and it really makes me happy, you know? He proved everyone wrong. And I've been saying this the offseason. Trayvon's going to prove everybody wrong this upcoming season. And look what he's doing. He's doing exactly what I knew he was gonna do. We're 7-3. We're back up to second place in the NFC East. If we beat the Giants, it could possibly be great for standings. We really need to beat this Giants team. This is a division game. We really need to win that game, especially if we want to get OBJ. And the rest of our schedule is pretty much winnable games. Really, all I got to worry about is probably Philly and Titans. But other than that, we got to finish strong. Hopefully, I'm not gonna say it's our year because I'm not that Cowboys fan, but really hope we can finish strong. Obviously, make a run. Obviously, make a statement in the playoffs. Just hoping for that, but we just gotta take it one step at a time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna add much onto that myself. Just, I mean, it was just a massive win for the Cowboys. It was a statement win, of course, but I would have to say, I mean, I still see the Vikings bouncing back. I mean, this is, I mean, a big eye opener. You always, I mean, teams are always gonna have a massive loss like this that, you know, really wakes them up. And I would expect the Vikings. Right now, they are my Super Bowl favorite, so I would expect them to come back fierce in Week 12. And yeah, I mean, for you, obviously, a great win for the Cowboys. So. Let's move on to, I think, our final afternoon game. We got the Bengals and Steelers, which this is a surprising shootout. It was, I mean, 37-30. I mean, big, high-scoring game here. I mean, I would have expected the Bengals to just roll over the Steelers, but pretty good game overall. I mean, you see the stats are pretty mixed. Joe Burrow with just over 350 yards and 4 passing touchdowns. So, you know, just a great standout game for him. And on the rushing side, Najee Harris, who has been under a bunch of scrutiny, you know, not really living up to his name and after what he's been after last season and what's expected of him. But here, you know, 90 yards, 2 touchdowns. He really had a game for himself. You know, it's somewhat of a comeback for him. So not a bad game at all. And just with the with the Bengals missing Joe Mixon after that early injury, Samaje Perine did. He was able to pick up the load pretty nicely, and he did get, I believe it was 3 touchdowns. So couple rushing, couple receiving. Obviously, it was just a great game overall for the Bengals. Maybe that defense is looking a little lacking, but overall a great win for them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still pretty upset that they took out the Cowboys game for the Bengals game. I really wanted to finish that game with us winning, obviously, but Vikings were getting that stampeded, so they had to switch it off to a more competitive game. But this game was boring. It was neck to neck though. But yeah, I mean, it was another great win with the Bengals. I mean, starting off with a rocky start in the beginning of the season, being 0-2, and then they had managed to bounce back. Oh God, still managed to bounce back. They're 6-4 now, so I mean, it's pretty good. Pretty good. I mean, with that AFC North, really in competition with the Baltimore Ravens. It's just another bad loss, bad game overall. Not bad game. I mean, they managed to get something in the second quarter, but they really couldn't finish out in the fourth, let alone in the third. Second half, so just wrap it up there. I mean, Najee Harris, he had a good game on the ground, but I mean, it wasn't enough. T. Higgins had another great game. 9 catches, 148 yards, and Joe Burrow, 4 touchdown passes. So, very great sign for him. Steelers, at this point, just tank. So, look back at Mike Tomlin, since this is most likely going to be his – oh, not most likely, but it's for sure going to be his first losing season of his career. It's pretty bummed to see, but just another great win by the Bengals. And then closing out our Sunday slate with the Sunday Nighter, the Chiefs at the Chargers. This was honestly a very great game, very close game. But another game with the Chiefs owning the Chargers in the last 5 games played. Really, all the leading stat receivers were all Chiefs players. Patrick Mahomes, 329 yards, 3 touchdowns. Pacheco had 15 catches for 107 yards. No, I'm sorry, not catches, carries. Travis Kelce, once again, owning the Chargers, 6 catches, 115 yards, and 3 touchdowns. It's just a great game overall. Chelsea's third touchdown pretty much sealed the game, put him up in the fourth quarter with almost 31 seconds left. Realistically, the Chargers, again, I don't want to say inconsistent no more because I'm pretty sure now they're consistent of losing. How are you going to be 5-3 and then manage to be 5-5 now? This is a really bad sign if I'm a Chargers fan, especially with the Chargers overall. I really didn't expect it to be a good game. I'm sorry. I really didn't expect it to be this close. I would have expected it to be a little more points, but we did choose the Chiefs on this one. And this just shows that the Chargers, that coaching, Brandon Stanley is not a good coach. I think this is the game to prove Justin Herbert is not him. Justin Herbert's not that guy for the Chargers. It's sad. It's sad to say. But like I've said before, Chargers are not going to keep getting wins off of field goal. It just can't happen. They're going to have to be putting up points on the board, and this game just shows it. They lost by 3 points of field goal. But again, it's just a lot of bad signs in the Chargers team right now.
Yeah, I mean, they were expected to win. Was it 27-24 going into that last drive? Just a couple seconds to go, and just Mahomes to Kelce, just over and over again in that drive. I mean, I wasn't watching it, but I just turned it on near the end, and sure enough, it was just Mahomes just taking the team down the field and just inevitably getting the touchdown and take the lead. Herbert, it looked like he was gonna get a nice little vintage drive going, like what we kind of got used to seeing from him last year, but takes an ugly sack and just a really ugly interception to finish it off. So big win for the Chiefs, obviously. Chargers down to 500. I mean, I'm not going to expect them to make the playoffs, obviously, but I mean, I feel like they'll bounce back. Sure, Staley isn't looking like a good head coach. I mean, his value was pretty inflated after the great job he did at the Rams in his defensive coordinator role. But I mean, sure, maybe they will have to start looking elsewhere for who will lead them. But I don't think this is something that you lay too much on Herbert. I mean, sure, he's had a poor run of form, but he's going to be back. Obviously, he's a great quarterback. So I mean, to me at least, he's still firmly that guy for the Chargers. But it's just he's having a pretty tough slump, obviously. But overall, it's pretty clear that the Chiefs are by far the best team in the AFC West, and at this point, they're the best team in the AFC. So we'll see who dethrones them, if anyone does. But I mean, the Chiefs, people started doubting them this year, and they just come back and show why you shouldn't doubt the Chiefs. So moving on, we got our Monday nighter in Mexico, obviously. Just a nice for the NFL to come back to Mexico after, I think it was a good 2-3 years. I think it was last there in 2019. But got the Niners at the Cardinals. Obviously, I would have expected this to be a little closer, but 38-10. Just slowly, the Niners just really kept putting it on. Just a lot of, I mean, they spread the ball out. I think Ayuk got 2 touchdowns. Debo ended up getting 1, and just a power touchdown by Kittle. That when he just really got away from Budda Baker. I think that's the one I remember I watched. I didn't watch it much, but apart from all of that, I mean, you see, it was a great game for Jimmy G, obviously, with 228 yards and 4 touchdowns, and he's slowly just really taking over that role, kind of improving, obviously, because we had kind of gotten used to seeing Jimmy G just being carried by the Niners defense, but it's looking a lot better for Jimmy G. And apart from that, it's Elijah Mitchell. He didn't have the best game, but I mean, he's coming back, trying to set himself back. So I mean, 60 yards. I praised Cam Akers for it, but I mean, you know the deal with Akers. So, but overall, it was just a great game by the Niners. Not much else to say. I hate to see this, but they're 6-4. They're up there. It's probably gonna be between them and the Seahawks as it stands. And I guess the bottom feeder battle for whoever gets last between my Rams and the Cardinals.
I mean, yeah, you pretty much got that out of the way. I mean, you said you expected it to be a close game, but I really didn't expect it to be a close game. I kind of knew it was going to be a pretty weak game, in my opinion, by the Cardinals. I mean, we saw how they beat the Rams last week, but I mean, there were 2 bad teams, so it could have been one-sided. Really could have been one-sided, so that's why I really didn't expect the Cardinals to win. I already knew the Niners were going to win because obviously they're a good team coming against a bad team, and it's the Cardinals. The Cardinals, especially with Colt McCoy, not looking at the Rams game, but this game, they're really going to struggle. I mean, Kyler Murray's probably playing Warzone or something, not even injured anymore, but sad to say. But it was a great win. It was a great win, especially in Mexico City for these 49ers. Obviously, they're going to make a push for the playoffs, and it seems like it. And the Cardinals, I should just hope for the draft. And that wraps up the Week 11 recap. The teams on bye were the Seahawks, the Bucks, the Jaguars, and the Dolphins. So, I mean, three of those 4 teams are doing really well, except the Jaguars. Pretty good. Hopefully they have some great games coming into next week. So before we move on to our Week 12 predictions, we're going to go over our Week 11 predictions to see how that went and our cumulative records.
Obviously, Christian, you and I had 3 disagreements this week. You took all 3. So with me, I was only ahead by 1 overall. So you are now ahead of me by 1 game. You are now 93-71. I'm 92-72. Obviously record shows our predictions have been pretty solid. You take a slight advantage as you were 10-4 this week. I was 7-7.
Comeback season, baby. Comeback season.
This was probably just my bias with the Rams. If I would have just taken the Saints, or maybe a couple games here and there, could have. I mean, I believed that we could have done something, but when your O-line hits a new low, what can you do? This being the Thanksgiving week, there are no teams on bye, so we'll get back into that in the next week. But let's get started. Obviously, Thanksgiving Thursday. That's traditional 3 games on Thanksgiving Day, and open it up our Lions Thanksgiving game they will be taking on the Bills. it's pretty easy to call, at least for me. I mean, I would love to see the Lions have a good Thanksgiving game. I always got a soft spot for them, especially for Jared Goff. But with Josh Allen, I'm gonna have to say the Bills really run away with this. This 3-game win streak comes to an end for the Lions. But I mean, there's still stuff to look up for them. So
Yeah, I mean, this is a no-brainer as well. The Buffalo Bills, I'm pretty sure they're going to stampede against these Lions. I really don't expect a close game here. Just a really easy win for the Bills. Nothing much to go forward with. Next game is my game, the 1:30 game. My Dallas Cowboys host the New York Giants on Thanksgiving. As we open up with our new our throwback jerseys, once again with that new helmet. Oh my God, I'm very excited for that. Obviously, got to go with my Cowboys. I mean, we saw how New York struggled with Detroit, and then we saw how my Cowboys stampeded, and obviously a hornswoggle with these Minnesota Vikings. Obviously, that defense can obviously stick to what they're doing realistically and do not get too comfortable. If that offense can keep going and we keep utilizing Tony Pollard more like we did with the Vikings, we're for sure going to beat these Vikings. Not Vikings, I'm sorry. We're for sure going to beat these Giants. I wouldn't say too bad, but I would say it was pretty comfortable win, I would say. So I got to go with my Cowboys, and should be a winnable game.
yeah, I mean, I believe it was week 3 or 4. I did take the Giants to beat the Cowboys. This week, I'm not going to make that mistake. I'm going with your Cowboys. Pretty fair to say that. I mean, unless Saquon does go off, which, I mean, you never know. That is a real possibility. But I am going to have to say that just the Cowboys defense and just the Cowboys overall, everything on that team, realistically, I'll say, I mean, especially, you know, just everything, the Thanksgiving, you know, the whole tradition, everything going on. I don't see them losing. Probably see Dak or Zeke jump into the Salvation Army bucket, so something like that. But yeah, to me, close game, but it'll be a Cowboys win here.
Yeah,
and
we've been losing Thanksgiving, but hopefully we can get the win.
But to close it out with our nightcap, our primetime Thanksgiving game, it will be the Patriots at the Vikings. To me, I mean, just after such an ugly game, I'm gonna have to say that the Vikings come out angry and they'll really stampede the Patriots. It'll probably be anywhere from 10 to 20 points, in my opinion, especially with. I mean, sure, they won. The Patriots did win last week, but it was a really ugly game. And I think that kind of turns over into this game, especially on a short week. So, yeah, pretty easy Vikings win for me here.
You've got to agree. Vikings losing by 37 points to a Dallas Cowboys team that struggled against the Green Bay Packers seems to get their groove back. But, yeah, I would assume Minnesota. I would hope Minnesota gets their groove back on this game as well, like the Cowboys did. To beat New England, we saw how poorly New England played last week against the Jets. I would stop saying that, but I would hope Minnesota does get the victory here, and I would obviously pick Minnesota to win this game against the Patriots. They just got Kirk Cousins. Well, he is playing in prime time, so you never know. Primetime Kirk, we know how he is, but I gotta go with Minnesota on this one, sadly.
Yeah, going into the Sunday slate, obviously the Buccaneers and the Browns, just a really it's a decent matchup, I guess you could say, but to me, the way the Bucs are kind of riding high right now, I'm gonna have to say that they take a win here. I do think it'll be close for sure, but it's gonna be a Bucs win here.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on Bucks. I'm not really much to go into with that one, but it's Cleveland. I mean, they managed to put up fights, but just can't finish. So I'm going to have to go with Tampa Bay on this one. It pretty much looks like Brady's got the team back together. Next game, we have the Cincinnati Bengals at Tennessee. I feel like this is going to be a good game, but I'm going to have to go with Tennessee on this one. If they can get Derrick Henry early in the run game, I feel like they could really get this win against the Cincinnati Bengals. It's going to be a great game. Very great game, but I just got Tennessee with the upper hand on this one.
Yeah, we can get a little disagreement in this here. I mean, as much as I do believe that the Titans are that Derrick Henry is gonna really show out in this game, I believe that Joe Burrow, you know, he's gonna keep this run. He's been he's been looking really good the past couple weeks, and the defense might struggle and it might be a shootout, but I'll expect the Bengals to repeat what they did in the divisional round last year against the Titans. Maybe even see Ryan Tannehill throw an ugly interception to end this. But yeah, I'm gonna take the Bengals here. And next we got this one pretty easy to call, I would say. The 1-win Texans going against the Miami Dolphins, the high-flying Dolphins, of course. And easy for me to say. I'm gonna say Tua has a lights-out game. He just it's gonna be a pretty big win for them. I would have to say, just like that Vikings game. I'm gonna expect a 20-point win here for the Dolphins.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, obviously not another game it's really gonna go into, but it's pretty much an obvious call here. The Dolphins are just gonna run through these Texans, so not much to say. But I got Miami winning here. Next game's probably gonna be a great game. The Chicago Bears at the New York Jets. Now, Sammy wants to pick the Jets, but with the way Zach Wilson's playing, I would want to pick the Bears, but then again, with that Jets defense, has been doing phenomenal. I will go with the Jets on this one. This one's pretty going to be controversial, but very hard to decide. But I'm really picking the Jets because of their defense, really. And this is gonna if Robert Saleh does decide to bench Zach Wilson, it's Joe Flacco time, so maybe Joe Flacco can possibly lead him to a win here, but I'm going to go with New York on this one.
I can't know one of these into us then, because I'm going to have to go with the Bears. It was an ugly loss to the Falcons last week, obviously, but, I mean, I don't see Justin Fields having another game that ugly, and plus he's just been doing so much to not win these games, and with the Jets really going kind of going downhill, and I expect them to keep going downhill and just eventually miss the playoffs. I really believe that these rebuilding Bears are going to mess up their draft position and get a nice win here. So, yeah, probably just a great game for Justin Fields. And we move on here. This one is actually a very intriguing game, more than we would have expected in the last couple weeks. We got the bipolar Falcons going against Taylor Heineke's Commanders. To me, I'm going to go with the Commanders here, just as Taylor Heineke has just been really leading the charge, and obviously stole a starting spot from Carson Wentz. I'm going to expect him to just show out, and I mean it'll be a close game because you never know with these Falcons, but I'm gonna take the Commanders here.
Seems like we're getting some couple disagreements here, but I'm gonna go with the Falcons on this one. It's 2 reasons. I feel like the Falcons, even though how much bipolar they are, inconsistent and very trappy they could look, but I got them winning against the Commanders on this one. I feel I just like really just have a feeling, they are inconsistent, but I do need them to win here. It's very good with the NFC East standings. So if Washington can lose here, it'll be really great, even though there's still a game behind us, but 2 games, I think. But regardless, I really hope Atlanta can possibly put on a good game next week. I really expect that. So let's just hope. But really, Marcus Mariota can just really be consistent with his throws, and that defense can possibly show up. It'll be a great win. Now moving on to the next game, another I would assume it's going to be a boring game. The Denver Broncos at the Carolina Panthers. Not much to go into here, but I'm going to go with Broncos on this one just by default. Carolina has been doing very bad lately, so it's just pretty obvious to go with the Broncos here. Even how bad they're also doing, but they just got the slight upper hand here.
I mean, I would love to go with the Broncos myself here. I mean, to go with the Panthers myself, just Baker, all that stuff. But I'm gonna have to go with the Broncos as well. And coming off an ugly loss against the Raiders, they're gonna be hungry for a win. So I would expect at least a decent game for Russell Wilson. Doesn't take much against the Panthers, at least I would say. So yeah, I think the Broncos repeat what they did in Super Bowl 50 and take down the Carolina Panthers. And up next we got the Ravens at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Just another pretty probably a really one-sided game here. earlier in the season, this would have been a pretty hype matchup, how the Jaguars are looking. But right now, I'm going to expect Lamar Jackson to just really run over and possibly throw all over the Jaguars defense. Pretty subpar defense at that. So probably another easy Ravens win here. Get them to 8-3.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we got the Jaguars coming off from a bye. Really doesn't matter because the Ravens are going to win this game. I really got a high-scoring game by the Baltimore Ravens here. Jacksonville's really going to get really embarrassed, I would hope to assume that they would. But Lamar Jackson is just going to run through him. So I got Baltimore winning on this one. Next game, we have a pretty, I would assume it's going to be a boring game. Los Angeles Chargers at the Arizona Cardinals. Sadly, I'm going to have to go with the Chargers here against the Cardinals. Colt McCoy, regardless, looking past that Rams game, he's really not going to do much here. Obviously, Chargers are going to be angry. They're going to be angry after coming off 2 losses. So they're really obviously desperate for a win here, especially coming up playoff time. So we'll go with the Chargers.
Yeah, I'm about to agree with you here. I mean, far from a season-saving win. I mean, this will put them at 6-5, but I still believe. I mean, they're probably going to miss the playoffs the way they're looking. I mean, who knows? They could salvage it. This could be something to wake them up. But I mean, it'll probably be a good game for Justin Herbert. I mean, unless Kyler comes back, I'm not sure what his timetable would be. But if Colt McCoy starts this, I will easily say that the Chargers win here. I mean, even with Kyler, I don't think they would fare much better. But yeah, with McCoy, easy call. So moving on, got Raiders at the Seahawks. Sure, the Raiders are riding high on this little overtime win, this big walk-off win, but I think Geno Smith puts them back in their place. And obviously the Seahawks coming off the bye, of course, and a pretty ugly loss in Germany against the Bucks. I'd have to expect the Seahawks to just have a really good game here, kind of find their groove back, and possibly put themselves back in front in that NFC West conversation.
Yeah, I mean, another team that's coming off a bye, so the Seahawks against this Raiders team that got a pretty great win against these Broncos. But regardless, Seahawks are the better team here. I feel like they're just gonna go through those Raiders. Possibly it could be a close game depending if Devontae Adams has another great game here. I'm pretty sure he's gonna have another great game with the stats he's putting up, but obviously overall the Raiders are just a very bad team, and the Seahawks are just gonna get the easy win here. Next game, this is your game. Your Rams at Kansas City. They are playing at Kansas City here, so obviously, but sadly, it's gonna be a very ugly game. I don't know why it's America's game of the week, but I'm gonna have to go with Kansas City here. I know you probably might not disagree with me on this one, but it's pretty much obvious when you're Kansas City, it's just gonna go through those Los Angeles Rams. It's gonna be another ugly game.
Yeah, I mean, as much as it hurts me, I have to put my predictions ahead of my team, and I'm going to go with the Chiefs here. There's no way that we're going to win. I mean, hey, I would love them to prove me wrong. I'll take an L on the predictions for a nice win this week. But, yeah, I mean, you see how we've been losing to guys like Andy Dalton and Colt McCoy. I could only imagine what Patrick Mahomes is going to do to our defense. That I keep trying to call elite week in, week out. They're just losing it more and more. It just looks like the Bucks game-winning drive, that one just killed us. I don't know if that just like killed their confidence, killed whatever it was, but yeah, Raheem Morris's defense has just not been it ever since that drive, and just for that reason and for just the season in general, I'm gonna have to bet against the Rams, and I'm gonna go with the Chiefs here. And our final afternoon game, we got the Saints at the Niners. This is just another game that I hate to do this, but I'm gonna have to go with the Niners here. It's just so you see how high the Niners are riding. They're just a great team right now, and I guess the return of Jimmy G has really sparked them. That's their team chemistry. That's their guy, and I would expect a pretty big win over the Saints. That they're probably going to fall back. I mean, sure, they get their little free win with the Rams, and they'll fall back down to earth. And Yeah, I mean the Niners will keep pace with the Seahawks for the top spot on the NFC West.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to look another ugly game. Obviously, calling it again. Andy Dalton kind of another very shit game here against the San Francisco 49ers. And you see how they're coming off a big victory of the Cardinals here in Mexico City. I just feel San Francisco kind of got their groove again. I feel like if they could possibly win out, they could be a scary team to be in the playoffs. We saw how that was last season. It still aches me to this day. But I guess, yeah, San Francisco coming off, it's gonna get a somewhat comfortable here against the Saints. Now closing out our Sunday slate with our Monday nighter, the Packers at the Philadelphia Eagles. This game could honestly be both ways. We see how Philadelphia's playing. They're playing very sloppy, very slow. Especially coming off from the Colts win, a very 1-point game. But I'm still gonna go with the Eagles here by default, obviously again because Green Bay. Sure, they got that great win against my Cowboys, but Green Bay always beats Cowboys for some reason. So realistically, you can't really say anything about that. They lost to Tennessee, couldn't do anything about that either. Just shows that if they don't play the Cowboys, they're not gonna do good. So I'm gonna go Philadelphia on this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you. You know, a big part of me does want to go with the Packers, just because the Eagles seem to just really be unraveling right now. But you just think back and it's the Packers. So I think the Eagles can kind of pick it up. You know, Jalen Hurts could probably have a nice little bounce back game here, because I mean he's hasn't been himself the past couple weeks, obviously. So I would expect a really big game for Hurts, probably an actual standout game for Brown, because he's been quietly having good games, but you know none of that high level stuff that we kind of got used to early in the season. So I'll take the Eagles here. And we'll close it out here Monday night with a pretty boring game. Let's be honest. We got the Steelers at the Colts. I would expect some ugly football, probably low scoring, but I'm gonna go with the Steelers here. As it's it can go both ways. As you said earlier, with these shitty teams, you never know. So I'll take Kenny Pickett over Matt Ryan the way they've been looking. I don't think the Colts are going to string another well, they could have won, but they didn't. So I mean a win-worthy performance against a team like this. So yeah, I'm going to have to say the Steelers.
Honestly, a part of me does say I wanted the Colts to win, but I'm gonna go with the Steelers as well, just because I feel like they could get this win against the Colts. I mean, Najee Harris. I mean, if they get Najee Harris going, Najee's the main reason why I'm choosing the Steelers. If Najee can get going early against these Colts, because we see how Matt Ryan is trailing and under pressure. If Kenny Pickett, if he could just be more consistent with his passes, his throwing, just do not throw retarded ass picks. I got Steelers coming out with this one, so I'm really expecting the Steelers to win. We hope for a great run game from them as well, and just another very disappointing Indianapolis loss. And that officially concludes episode 13 of the Beans No Ball podcast. That wraps up the predictions as well. Pretty much coming to the closing here. I'll start it off this time. Would just like to thank all you guys for obviously sticking around with us, saying this every single episode, but we really do appreciate everyone that sticks around and watches. Hopefully we get more people watching us. Hopefully we actually become more serious about this, and got nothing else but to say besides thank you all. We appreciate all your support. David, you got anything else to add to this?
Not much else. I guess just like you said, appreciate everyone that does stick around. Our, I believe, 45 loyal subscribers. Hope to get that growing little by little. But yeah, it's we appreciate everyone. Obviously, Thanksgiving is 2 days away from when we're recording. It will be tomorrow when you guys do see this, when this is up tomorrow. So happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Hope everyone has a good time with family. Watch some football all day, of course. That's what we'll be doing. So yeah, it's gonna wrap it up for episode 13, and we'll see you guys on Sunday morning chat.